This is the third and final video I'm making analysing the examples of book reviews for Lit Studies Popular Fiction. And this one is from the London Book Review, and it's a review of a novel called Innocents and Others by Dana Spiotta, and the review is by Adam Mars-Jones. And this is different again, as you would expect, from the Australian Book Review and the New York Book Review examples. So if we have a look at the first paragraph, long before electronic media came up with the phrase, literature had been relegated to the status of preferred content provider for films. And so the first paragraph actually says nothing specifically about the novel being reviewed. And really it sets the scene for the whole review, which of course reviews the book and talks about the characters and the themes and a little bit about the plot. But the review as a whole also talks about a much broader cultural and philosophical issue, and that is about film and visual culture. And at various points it talks about the difference between film and fiction. So if you get hold of a copy of the London Book Review, you'll find that there's actually not a lot of reviews of fiction, and there are quite a lot of articles about broader cultural issues. So really this style of review fits, not surprisingly, with the publication in which you find it. So I'm just briefly going to make some points. Again, it's a long review. It's more than twice as long as you actually have words for. But if there's something that in the book you've chosen to review that really reflects something broader about the culture or some philosophical or political or social issue, then you might choose this style, which mixes description and analysis of the book with description and analysis of the broader issue. So if we have a look here, he's talking in this paragraph here about character. So he gives us the basics, where the central female character, Maury, meets this obese, or writes to this obese ex-wunderkind of the screen, who the reviewer identifies as only being able to be the actual character of Orson Welles. So just with the New York Review of Books example, where the novel itself was mixing fiction with real life, the reviewer is suggesting this one is too. And most of this paragraph is mixing up a description of plot and character. And of course that's not surprising with literary fiction, where the plot is often and usually second to character. Next point that I wanted to mention was what I've just said, that there's this constant mixing of character and plot, reflecting the focus on a character of literary fiction. So right up to this point in the review, that's what's happening. And even up at this point, the reviewer is telling us a lot about the medium of film at the same time as telling us about the plot and characters. So here he says, the way of working is more analytical. Documentary wasn't a conscious choice on her part, but the way her practice developed. So he's telling us about one of the real characters who existed at this time and how she was experimenting with different kinds of film. This is a really long paragraph that mixes character-driven incidents and relates that to theme. So up here, sorry, I'm just closing this comment. Just looking for the bit that talks about theme. Here you can see he's talking about, you know, movie makers like Godard and Truffaut. So mixing it all up, And here it talks about what he thinks is the central theme. He says, at this point, disconcertingly, the apparent counter subject of the novel, balancing the dominance of film in the other strands, resolves into the first subject, after all, of power, even the tyranny of the visual. We're back in the world that cinema has made. There seems to be no escape. Jelly turns out to be a compulsive film goer, resuming the habit after her vision improves. So he says that it's the power and the tyranny of the visual is one of the central themes. Again, it's constant mixing up of this discussion of film itself, the characters, the plot, and what it all means. Again, down here we've got another theme statement. As it is, the damage isn't superficial or restricted to the moment. The whole theme of the novel is the mutual exploitation of damaged moral agents, as announced in the title, and so it's important that Meadows' credentials shouldn't be tarnished at this early stage of the book. He says there's a surprising amount of plot in the home stretch. So it is interesting in itself that the reviewer is talking about it being surprising that there's a lot of plot. Perhaps he's saying that because it contrasts with the first half. Perhaps he's saying that because it is literary fiction and there seem to be all these, crime-like, thriller-like, more genre-related plot points in that part of the novel. Getting near to the end, he makes a statement which surprisingly we didn't find in the Australian Book Review and New York Review of Books examples. He explicitly says it's intermittently successful. So it's sort of like a verbal scoring out of 10, really. It's kind of a 6 out of 10. Intermittently successful. Successful here, not successful there. And you could take a lesson from that. Maybe the book you review has some fantastic parts, but, overall doesn't work. You don't have to completely mark it down or completely valorize it. And I found the final statement quite interesting. This account of sexual violence, making good use of the briskness of prose narrative, pity the actress playing the scene, blah, 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 and that's actually referring to a film. The forcing of a grotesque pain and indignity into the softest place in a famous film. Here we go. This is revenge porn rather than a love letter to Hollywood. But perhaps that's the way a simmering resentment of the grandeur and blindness of visual culture comes out when too long repressed. So that's a very acerbic and harsh summing up, I feel, and really leaves an impact on the reader of this review. He's saying the novel is revenge porn, revenge against Hollywood for the dominance of the visual. So again, very different, again, very literary, but if you've got a novel that's dealing with social issues as well as its generic concerns, maybe this is how you want to mix it up.